Hey all, Hawkeye here. It's August 5th, 2020. I'm about 9 miles into about a 14-mile hike. Nice cool morning. Started out sunny, but got rained on a little bit this morning, which is, we need it bad. Anyway, about this time last year, I was crossing from California border across to Oregon. But since I'm behind on my videos, I'm going to be starting this video with mile marker 500 and pretty interesting part of the hike where you're climbing out of the high country and down into pretty much desert area, flat area where you're going to see some hiker town pictures and pretty interesting place, and be hiking along the LA Aqueduct, which is pretty cool. And then you end up hiking to a wind farm. But anyway, it's one of the hottest stretches on the PCT. A lot of people hike it at night, and I did in 2018. I got up like at 3 o'clock in the morning and took off. But in 2019 I did hike during the day. I was hiking with Miles and Saskia and Ruth. But anyway, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the video. So climbing down out of the Angels National Forest, you climb down into this looks like a big valley. You walk along this road down to the highway up ahead, and off in the distance you can see Hiker Town. Hiker Town is privately owned. An older gentleman owns it. It's been around the PCT for years. It's just a bunch of small little buildings built to look like a small town. Each one of those buildings usually has a bed in it. You can rent those beds to sleep in. I think it's like $10 a night, something like that. But no electricity in them or anything. A couple of them have restrooms, but not much. It's pretty much just a stopping place to gather your thoughts and supplies before you actually hit the long desert walk. This gentleman owns a small convenience store / cafe down the road, and he will shuttle you there and is happy for you to purchase all of his supplies. It's a pretty cool place to kind of gather and catch up with other hikers and whatnot, but we were there pretty much all day, and then we left the next morning. But this is Hiker Town, the famous Hiker Town. After road walking for a while, you come up on this is the LA Aqueduct, or part of it. It's just a big pipe with thousands and thousands of gallons of water running under your feet. You can either walk on the pipe or on the road next to it. It's kind of cool just to know that you have all this water rushing under your feet. The aqueduct soon turns to like a man-made river. Some of it's open. The trail goes pretty much right next to it. And actually there's signs that say you can actually fish in it. Can't swim in it or anything, of course, but you can actually fish in there. But The aqueduct is kind of interesting, got an interesting history. It actually takes the water out of the mountains, and that's what supplies LA with their water. It's kind of a sketchy history on how the city of LA actually acquired the land and everything to be able to run this aqueduct. But if you have time, check it out. It's a pretty good read. After the open portion of the aqueduct, it all goes underground, and you start following this. Looks like a road, but it's pretty much concrete covering the aqueduct, with these little stations every so few feet in between. I suppose there's some kind of access, but you can see how flat and dry and sunny there is. There's no shade out here, so that's why most people like to hike it at night. This was kind of cool. The clouds were just kind of draped over the mountains off in the distance. We thought maybe we'd get a little rain or some kind of cover, but it didn't happen. Kind of gives you an idea of why the beef out in Southern California is not very good. This is pretty much the first area where you start seeing the Joshua trees. This one's about to bloom. Looks like a river off in the distance, but or a lake, but those are actually solar panels. Once we got to the wind farm, there was a water cache. We decided to fill up and actually spend the night there. Found a spot that we thought was out of the wind, but they put that wind farm there for a reason. It was pretty windy that night. We got up early the next morning and started hiking. We had kind of a long uphill climb that whole next day, so decided to get it while it was cool. This is a little valley we had to climb down into, and then as you can see, we had a very long switchback climb on the other side, which nobody was looking forward to, but it was a long climb, so it's pretty bad when you can see it ahead of you. Once we got to the top of that climb, there was some trail magic up on top, which was a nice surprise for me in 2018, but I kind of knew it was there in 2019. In this picture you can kind of see the little hummingbird was flying around, buzzing around. They had oranges and apples and cookies and of course lots of water. It's a nice little break. Once we started climbing down, we were climbing into the Tahachapi wind farms, which is one of the largest wind farms in the United States. It just seems to go on forever, but PCT pretty much goes right through it. Hikers aren't the only ones they allow in the wind farm. Turns out there's a whole herd of wild horses that live out there. The actual town of Tahachapi is about 15-20 miles off the trail. But the town has put together quite the co-op of trail angels. You can pretty much just call one number and it turns out to be like a dispatcher who will find somebody that's available to come and pick you up at the interstate and take you into town. It's pretty awesome. They've got it down to a science. So if you're hiking out there, come to Tahachapi Pass. Don't worry about getting into town. Kind of a bad picture of a coyote that we seen while we were taking a little break. Once we climbed down out of the wind farm, we were getting close to the interstate, and we was wondering how we were going to find a ride into town or who we were going to call or whatnot. But turns out we got down by the road and this woman stopped to give us a ride. Little did she know that there was 5 of us hiking together, and she had a tiny little car, but that didn't seem to bother her. Yep, the dog got to ride with my lap. Once we got into Tahachapi and everybody got into their hotel rooms or decided where they were going to stay, first place we went was to a local sports type bar that served steak, and we were ready to chow down. Here's the whole gang. Here's Firefly and Bluebird, and I can't remember the girl next to her's name, but the 3 of them hiked together quite a bit. There's Twist Off, and then Saskia, and then across from Saskia is Ruth, and then Snow Peaks, Smiles, and Rome. Rome was she was from Missouri, but she was gonna wrap up her hike there at Tahachapi and then head home. But There's the whole gang. Had my resupply in Tahachapi, and we got quite a bit of food because I know Smiles and I were thinking we were gonna need it to get clear to the Kennedy Meadows. But so we did some shopping, and then I also had a box sent from Susan. There it is, all packed up, ready to go in the backpack. And yes, I did use the hot tub there. And a little R&R at the local sports bar. We all got a lift back out to the interstate, and the trail goes along the interstate for a little while, and then it starts climbing. Hey all, Hawkeye here. Just left Tahachapi with 00, which is 3-night stay, which is pretty long for a hiker stop, but we're gonna plan on, well, Smiles and I, the guy I've been hiking with, we're planning on hiking clear through to Kennedy Meadows, which is, we're figuring 10 days. So our packs are way heavy. I'm carrying 4 liters of water and 10 days worth of food. We just made a climb of about 3 miles. Kind of see where we're at from the interstate down there. And we're only about halfway. So we got another 3 or so miles to go, and then we got a little downhill and then more uphill. Anyway, it's going to be that way until Kennedy Meadows, and then we'll see what happens when we get there, if we can head through the Sierras or not. We've got reports that some people are flipping, a lot of people are flipping and going north of the Sierras, and we've also heard that people are going through, so we don't know. That's just trail rumor. So that's where I'm at right now. Figuring, like I said, 10 days to Kennedy Meadows, so I will keep you in touch. Hawkeye out. So that takes us up to mile 600. Tahachapi is a pretty nice town. If you're hiking the PCT, you want to it's a good place to take a zero. There's some pizza places and a couple sports bars and a barbecue place. There's anything you ever want. There's also the airport out there lets hikers stay for like $5 a night or something. It's a little noisy from what I heard, but we have showers and vending machines or whatnot, and it's walkable to any place into town. So of course anything for a hiker is walkable. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video.
if you can, go to YouTube and subscribe to my page and hit the like button. Appreciate it. Till next time, hike on.